Imagine this: someone walks into your life, not slowly, but with intensity, like a spark meeting dry wood. They connect with you in ways that feel fated. The way they listen, the way they see you, the way they say things you didn't even know you needed to hear. According to Carl Jung's analytical psychology, we all carry within us universal patterns called archetypes: the lover, the teacher, the healer, the shadow, and many more. When you feel an instant pull towards someone you've just met, it's not a coincidence. It's energy. It's an archetype awakening. These aren't just abstract ideas. They're deep psychological forces that live in our unconscious and shape how we relate to the world. When someone enters your life and stirs something powerful inside you, it's likely because they've activated one of these archetypes within you. That magnetic feeling isn't just about them. It's about what they symbolize to your inner world. Maybe they reflect a part of you you've neglected, a desire you've buried, or a wound still waiting to heal. They're not just a person. They become a mirror, a symbol, a trigger for a transformation. So that spark, that intense connection, it's not just attraction. It's your psyche calling you to wake up, to grow, and to confront a part of yourself that's been waiting to be seen. And just as suddenly as they appeared, they disappear. No explanation, no closure, only silence. At first, you go through denial. You wait. You replay every moment, every word, every message. You ask yourself, was I too much or not enough? The mind scrambles to find a reason, because silence with no reason is the loudest noise the heart can hear. You think you're the one confused, sitting in silence, replaying every moment, wondering what went wrong. But what if you're not the one who's stuck? What if they are? Stuck between a burning desire and a fear that clouds everything. They want to call you, but they're terrified you won't answer. They want to reach out, but their ego whispers, what if you're not enough? They want to love, but their shadow has taught them that love equals pain. Carl Jung believed that our shadow, the repressed parts of our psyche, doesn't disappear. It controls us from the dark, and for some, love isn't soft or safe. It's exposure. It's risk. It's losing control. To you, connection feels healing. To them, it feels dangerous. So they freeze, not because they don't care, but because caring awakens too much. Vulnerability threatens the protective walls they've built over a lifetime. Silence, to them, feels like safety. There are moments in life when someone's silence cuts deeper than any word could. You wonder what went wrong, why they left without an explanation, and whether you were ever enough. The absence becomes loud. Their distance begins to feel like a mirror, reflecting not just your pain, but something far more complex, something hidden in both of you. Carl Jung believed that every meaningful relationship is a mirror, not a simple one, but a two-way mirror, reflecting back the conscious and unconscious truths of both people involved. When two souls connect deeply, it's never just about love or chemistry. It becomes a psychological dance between the seen and the unseen. You're not just seeing them, you're seeing parts of yourself. And they're seeing parts of themselves, maybe for the first time. But not everyone is ready for what that mirror shows. To them, your presence might not just represent affection or comfort. It might reflect the very parts of themselves they've denied, repressed, or tried to escape for years. Their shadow, as Jung called it. And when that mirror grows to clear, it doesn't feel like love anymore. It feels like exposure. That's why some people leave, not because they don't care, but because they're overwhelmed by what you reflect. The silence they choose isn't always indifference. Sometimes, it's the sound of someone retreating from a battle they're not yet ready to fight. A battle not with you, but with themselves. And so, when they disappear, it isn't a rejection of who you are. It's a surrender to the storm inside them. A moment where they choose protection over transformation. You thought you were waiting for closure, for them to return and explain, for one last message, one final moment, something that would make it all make sense. But here's the truth, this was never about them. It's about you. It's about the part of yourself you handed over when you saw them as the answer. When you believed their presence validated your worth. When you made their silence mean something about you. If they return one day, willing to face the mirror with you, welcome them with clarity, not dependency. But if they don't, let the mirror be your teacher. Let it reveal what you still carry, what still hurts, and what still longs for a healing. Because this was never just about them. It was always about what you saw through them, and what you now see in yourself. You stand alone, staring into a mirror that now only reflects you and the pain. What was once a connection full of warmth and possibility now echoes with silence, not just theirs, but your own. The kind of silence that follows something too meaningful to forget, yet too incomplete to understand. And in that silence, you begin to realize something deeper. It was never just about them. It was about what they reflected back to you, and what you reflected back to them. We project parts of our unconscious mind onto others, desires we've denied, wounds we haven't healed, truths we haven't faced. When you met them, it wasn't just chemistry. It was recognition. On some deep level, they awakened something within you. A longing, a memory, a missing piece. But here's the part we often miss. You awakened something in them too. That's why they left. Not because you were too much, but because you were too revealing. You didn't hurt them. You illuminated them. You held up a mirror they weren't ready to look into. A mirror that said, here is your wound. Here is your fear. Here is your unhealed self. And not everyone is ready to fight that battle. You see, the deeper the connection, the more intense the reflection. Real intimacy isn't just about shared laughter and tender moments. It's about exposure, psychological exposure. When someone looks at you and sees more than just your surface, when they see your soul, something in them either opens or runs, and when they run, it's not always rejection. Sometimes it's surrender, not to you, but to the inner war they've never learned how to win. They chose silence not out of indifference, but as a way to regain control. Because facing you meant facing themselves, their past, their fears, their broken pieces. And sometimes, silence feels safer than healing. Distance feels easier than vulnerability. But where does that leave you? Alone, perhaps, hurt, certainly. But also standing in front of your own mirror, the very one they ran from. You now have a choice, to chase their reflection or to meet your own. And when you finally do, when you truly see what you longed for in them, you begin to understand that their disappearance wasn't a failure. It was a doorway, an invitation to begin healing what was never theirs to fix. Because this isn't just a story of abandonment, it's a story of awakening. They left because they weren't ready for the truth you reflected. But now you must be ready for yours, not to carry their silence, but to find your own voice within it. Not to replay their absence, but to reconnect with the parts of yourself you abandoned in the process of trying to keep them close. You didn't lose them, you revealed them, and in doing so, you revealed yourself. And that is where the real transformation begins. Close your eyes and step into the garden within you. It's quiet there, untouched by noise, untouched by them. Every flower you see is a memory, a dream, a part of who you are. Some bloom effortlessly, radiant, full of life. Others have wilted, not from neglect, but from the moment you forgot they were yours to care for. When they left, something inside you dimmed. Not because they stole your light, but because you handed them the sun. You gave them the power to nourish parts of you that only you were meant to tend. Their silence felt like a loss, but it was also a signal, not of abandonment, but of invitation, an invitation to return to your roots. To sit with the soil of your soul and ask, what have I been waiting for? Carl Jung believed the soul's journey is inward. That wholeness doesn't come from chasing what was lost, but from reclaiming what you forgot you had. You weren't looking for them. You were looking for the version of yourself who felt alive in their presence. The one who laughed easier, breathed deeper, loved harder. And the truth is, that version of you still exists. Not in the past, not in their arms, but in the fertile ground of your becoming. This garden isn't dead. It's waiting for you to return. To plant new seeds, to water old roots, to bloom, not because someone else makes you feel seen, but because you finally see yourself. There was a time when you waited for closure. Carl Jung once said that wholeness doesn't come from fixing what's broken. It comes from accepting what is. And in that stillness, you began to see it. That the story you were holding on to was never yours to carry. That the closure you were waiting for was already inside you. They didn't leave because you lacked worth. They left the parts of themselves they weren't ready to love. And you kept holding space, hoping they'd return whole. But now, you see clearly, you cannot heal someone into loving you better, so you let go. Not as a sign of defeat, but as an act of power. You let go of the waiting, the hoping, the endless need for answers. You stepped out of the shadows of what if and into the quiet confidence of I am. And in that moment, as you turned away from the closed door and stepped into the morning light, something in you shifted. You didn't lose them, you reclaimed you. This isn't the end. This is the beginning. The beginning of loving yourself, fully, completely, unapologetically. And that is the most powerful story you'll ever live. Thank you for looking.